One of the great challenges in this world is knowing enough about a subject to think you're right, but not enough about the subject to know you're wrong.
Well, that is you and all of you evolutionists so clearly. You think you know you're right. You think you're related to a potato because you're based on a certain cell structure or something like that, eukaryotes. You're not smart enough to know you're wrong. You think the whole universe fit in a dot smaller than an atom. You can't fit a cup of water into a dot smaller than an atom. You can't fit an atom into a dot smaller than an atom. You just don't get it. So, Neil, I challenge you to a debate anytime. Everybody says you're brilliant, and you are in many ways. But you're an idiot about this creation evolution stuff, okay? You think evolution is part of science. Evolution is nothing but a religion, and you're welcome to it. But you guys should admit it's a religion and quit making everybody pay to have your religion taught in all the tax-funded schools, museums, science centers. Get it out of there, okay? You really want schools to be religion-free? Well, then get evolution out. Hovind theory, okay? Okay, let's see here.
There's like a gazillion hours of me on the internet. In almost every case, I'm talking about the universe, black holes, the Big Bang, time.
All these, you're talking about things that you don't know enough about. Nobody does. What is a black hole exactly? It's imagination. Maybe they exist. Nobody knows. You don't know. Nobody knows. What exactly is one? Where would you put it? And if it's dense matter, so dense that even light cannot escape, where'd all that matter come from? You think you know this. You started off your program just right, Neil. You think you know enough about it, but you don't know enough to know you're wrong, okay? Black hole, the Big Bang. The Big Bang's the dumbest theory ever in the history of the world. All the matter in the universe fit in a dot smaller than an atom, and it exploded. Think about that. Where did the energy come from? Where did the matter come from? Where did the space come from? Your first sentence, you better go really stand in the corner and think about that, okay? Put you in timeout for a while. Think about what you said, because you hit it right. You don't know enough to know you're wrong, okay? Let's see. Time travel. That's that's science fiction, okay? And you don't know enough about God? Okay, let's go on here.
Time travel, God. But what I'm going to do in this masterclass is teach you how to think.
Teach us how to think. Okay, let me help you out, Neil. I know how to think pretty well. Do you think all the matter in the universe fit in a dot smaller than an atom? That's what the books teach. Do you believe that's true? What evidence would you possibly have for that? All we see is the stars appear to all be giving a red shift. I think that's probably logical. And therefore, they're probably all receding from us. I think that's logical. The stars are probably moving away. And then you come to the wild conclusion that proves they all came from a spot. No. God said in the Bible 17 times, he stretched out the heavens. So my religious position would be God made earth first, then the stars, and stretched them out. And they're probably giving a red shift as we're seeing the taillights of the stars receding. It does not prove they came from a Big Bang. Now, I can't prove God did it like he said he did, and you can't prove it Big Bang. We both have a religion. I wish you would admit it. You believe this by faith, and you have great faith, but it's not science.
The goal here is to train your mind.
That's the goal of my program, too. That's why I do the Whack an Atheist. I got my hammer. Right here. Okay. And we got SpongeBob someplace. Here we go. You guys have this wild imagination. Wow. We all came from a potato, or we're from a rock, and we're related to a potato. You need to get some real science, like the whack-a-mole game, knock some sense into you. That's not science. I'm sorry, it's not. You can believe it is, and you can believe it very strongly, and you might have really convinced yourself, and you might have convinced millions of other people. If you convince the whole world it's true, it still doesn't make it true. Think about it. I'll teach you how to think tonight, Neil. Call in, 855-BIG-DINO, extension 4, to get on the program, okay? The goal is to train your mind. Me too. I think you guys need to admit evolution is a religion. I admit I believe by faith God made the world. Can I prove that scientifically? No, obviously you couldn't. And you can't prove the world made itself scientifically either. So just admit it's a religion and we're on even ground. Only mine's smarter than yours. Okay?
How to see the world differently. How to question what others say.
Yeah, we should question what others say. The textbooks are saying, the universe is billions of years old, when there's hundreds of ways to prove it can't possibly be that old. I use the illustration. If I took a pen and said, this pen is 4,000 years old. It says, no, it's not. Yeah, I believe it is. Okay. You sold it. It's made of plastic, and plastics weren't invented until 1907. That one fact disproves my theory that it's 4,000 years old. One fact. Okay. And there are hundreds of facts that will prove the Earth cannot be billions of years old. It can't be. The Earth is spinning, but it slows down. The moon's getting further away. The mountains are eroding into the ocean. The oceans are filling in with sediment. The magnetic field is weakening. Watch my video number 1, Neil. You can believe it's millions of years old, but that's not scientifically provable. So are you willing to question what others say about your religion, Neil? Are you willing to question that maybe you're wrong? Maybe God did make the world? Are you allowed to think that? Or would you lose your job and lose your income? I don't know. Okay. Yes, I think we should all question. I question anything in the Bible. I'll question it. Okay. I've studied it for 57 years now, and I've come to believe it by faith. I believe it's flawless, inspired, infallible, no mistakes in the King James Version anyway. Other versions have serious problems. So that's my position. I believe it's right. And I have a right to believe that, don't I? And I have a right to question what others say. I'm going to question what you say, that black holes exist. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. You don't know, and I don't know. Can we question that? Can we question the Big Bang? Can we question evolution at all? Can we question these stupid family trees that everything is related and we all came from a protozoa or an amoeba or something like that? Are we allowed to question that, Neil? If you had a college class you're teaching and a student questioned that, would you give him a passing grade or a failing grade just for questioning the whole thing about evolution? Would you give him a passing grade? We'll see. Okay, I'm sorry.
I've come to realize that there are 3 categories of truth: personal truth, political.
Personal truth, what you believe to be true. Political truth, what the politicians say. Throw that one out. Okay.
Truths, and the objective truths that shape our understanding of the universe. The interesting thing about an objective truth is that it's true no matter what.
Objective truth is true no matter what, even if you don't believe it. It's true. Dogs have always been observed to produce dogs. Always. Cows have always been observed to produce cows. It's true that our definition of science means things that are observable, testable, demonstrable. It's true that evolution is none of those. Nobody observes any animal changing to any other kind of animal. That's objective truth. The truth is, we don't see what you guys are claiming. The Bible says 20 times in the first 7 chapters, they will bring forth after their kind. That's what it says. They're going to bring forth after their kind. All plants and animals have done that since all of observed human history. So if you wish to imagine that it was different in the past, okay, you can imagine whatever you want. It's not science.
Imagine that. By the time we're done, you will be equipped with some of the methods and tools so you can turn data into information.
So by the time you're done teaching your class on how to think, students are going to turn data into information. Okay, ask any farmer in the history of the world, in any country of the world, if they've ever seen corn produce non-corn, or cows produce non-cows, or potatoes produce non-potatoes. Ask any of them. Let's get all that data. That should give us information that maybe animals always produce after their kind. I'll use the word kind because that's the Bible word, okay? There's 26 different definitions of species, and I'm sure you know that, Neil, okay? Nobody knows for sure what a species is. Is a dog and a wolf a different species? Yep. Can they interbreed? Yep. Anyway, this guy fires me up, Joseph. A little bit. Calm down, Kent. Calm down. I wouldn't care if they believed all this stuff, except that they're forcing all of us to pay to have this garbage taught to everybody. And they're convincing a lot of people that they're true. And it's just a baloney. So we want to turn data into information. I'm in favor of that. Turn information into
knowledge.
Knowledge. I'm in favor of that. I think we should collect knowledge. All the knowledge man has accumulated in all of its history will tell you cows produce cows. You might get a big cow or a little cow, a black cow or a white cow, but you're always going to get a cow, and there's a limit to the variation. They now have a cow putting out 34 gallons of milk a day. Utterly insane. But there's a limit. Do you think they'll ever get a cow putting out 400 trillion gallons of milk a day? No. Is 34 the limit? I don't know. Probably getting close. That's what all the Olympics do. They have, how fast can a human run? How high can they jump? How much can they lift? Blah, blah, blah. Are there limits to any of those? I don't know what the world's record is for bench press or something. Let's say it's 400 pounds. I don't know. You think anybody's ever going to bench press 10 trillion tons? It's a simple question. Is there a limit? Have we reached it yet? Oh, I don't know about that, but there's a limit. Is there a limit for how small a dog can get? They've been trying to get smaller dogs. They got the teacup chihuahua now, about that big. Do you think they'll ever get a dog as small as a flea? There are animals small as a flea, like a flea. Mm-hmm. So why can't we get a dog that small? There's a limit, isn't there? You guys, what you cannot see and you will not admit, you don't see the information available and the knowledge available, that there's a limit to all these changes. Yes, Darwin saw 14 kinds of finches on the different islands in the Galapagos Islands. I agree. Some had a heavy beak, some had a skinny beak. I agree. Based on mostly their food supply. Is there a limit? Yes, there's a limit. Is there a limit to how long animals can live? Sure. How big they can get, how much change can happen. This is where you really want knowledge and information, Neil. You come to my class, I'll teach you, okay?
Knowledge into wisdom.
The Bible says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. I'm in favor of knowledge. I'm in favor of wisdom. I love to learn things. I've read books all my life, and I've studied a lot of stuff. You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm pretty smart, and I think I'll handle you in a debate any day, okay? And you can have 10 of your friends with you. Get the top scientists in the world. You defend the position that evolution is scientific. Show me the best evidence you have for why you think man came from a single-celled creature like an amoeba. Start off, you give me the best evidence, I'll refute it. Then you go on to the second one, I'll refute it, as long as you want. I get equal time, and we just one topic at a time. You think fossils are going to prove evolution? Neil, all you know from fossils is they died. You do not know they had any children. You certainly don't know they had children that were different. How could you prove such a thing? We don't see them doing it today. Why could the bone in the dirt do something that no animal today can do? You give magical power to these bones in the dirt. This is called stupid, okay? I'm in favor of knowledge. Love it, okay? Been collecting it for 73 years now, okay? And I'm nowhere close to getting it all. But I learned enough to know cows produce cows and dogs produce dogs, no exceptions. Everything else is imagination. Okay, put him back up there, Joseph. Yeah, you need to stop and think. Yeah, I'll be the teacher of the class.
We all have susceptibility to bias.
Including you, Neil? Are you biased in favor of this evolution religion? And you're not allowed to think anything else? Yeah, you have succumbed to the bias of what you've done.
Search engines on the internet are the epitome of confirmation bias. And you're going to use that as evidence that you are.
Right. You guys are using evidence. Well, everybody believes in evolution. Therefore, it must be true. There was a time when all the doctors in America thought, if you're sick, you got bad blood, take your blood out, you'll get better. Called the doctrine of humors. Guess what? They were all wrong, weren't they? All of them. That's how George Washington died. George Washington was sick, and they said, oh, he's sick, take out some blood. They took blood out of right arm, then they got to take it out of the other arm too, because you got to keep him in balance. He took this equal amount out of both sides. Check it out. He got worse. Wow, we got to bleed him again. It took more blood out of each side. I think it was on the third try. He died. And the doctor stood around. We did the best. We did the best we could do. Yeah, you killed him because of your stupid lack of knowledge about the human body. They didn't understand the circulation system. They couldn't find capillaries. They thought the heart produced the blood and sent it out. They didn't understand how it comes back into the arteries or to the veins through capillaries. So they killed him. British sailors, 1 million of them died sailing across the ocean of scurvy. They looked everywhere for the cure for scurvy. It was a simple vitamin deficiency. The whole medical profession was wrong. While 1 million sailors died, they were sincere doctors, no question, intelligent. And I think you're sincere, Neil. I think you're intelligent, but you don't have wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You haven't even started on the road of wisdom. You have a lot of knowledge, but you don't have any wisdom. Okay? Tell them I said so.
Correct. No.
And you're wrong.
The good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it.
It's a good statement. And evolution is not part of science. You guys use these sentences all the time. Well, science versus religion. No, evolution is not part of science. You imply by that word science that we should include your religion of evolution. They do this to everybody. Fools a lot of students too. But evolution is a religion mixed in with science. That's all it is.
What does it mean to be skeptical? What does it mean to be convinced by data?
Would you be convinced by data if I told you we had 40 million affidavits that their farmer watched cows produce a baby cow? Would that convince you? How many farmers would have to say that before you'd say, maybe that's all that ever happens? Huh. We got cows, sheep, donkeys, squirrels, raccoons, possums, all running around our North 40 together. They know what to look for in a mate. We just had 5 baby lambs born in the last, 10 days? They all turned out to be sheep, even though they're right up there with the donkeys. And the cows, we never did get, what would you call it? Half cow, half sheep? A keep? I don't know. A sow? Forget it. I don't know. But it doesn't happen. It does not happen. Would the data convince you, Neil, or any of your followers? Would the data convince you that maybe you should really stop and think, maybe I'm wrong on this one? Could it? I know you don't want to think that because that involves, there's only two choices. Somebody made the world or the world made itself. And you like the idea of the world making itself because then there's no rules. There's no God to tell you what to do. I know why you guys like that religion. Who wouldn't? Doesn't mean it's true, though. Anyway, let's keep talking here. So a proper skeptic questions what they're unsure of.
A proper skeptic questions what they're unsure of, but recognizes when valid evidence is presented to.
Good. I'm going to present some valid evidence to you. You contact any farmer on the planet. Ask them, if you plant tomato seeds, what grows? Tomatoes. The tomatoes then have a seed in them. What grows if you plant that seed? Another tomato plant. Are there any exceptions you can point to? What would change your mind, Neil? Are you even able to change your mind? I know you'd lose your status. You'd get outlawed in the scientific community for being a traitor to their religion. They might stone you to death or whatever they do in your religion. I don't know.
Change their mind. I will equip you to not only find objective truths, but then communicate to others how to get there.
That's why I do this show, Neil. I'm trying to communicate to you how to get there. They always bring forth after their kind. God said they would. Every time we test this book, it turns out to be, wow, it works. It's true.
It's not good enough to be right. You also have to be effective.
Yep, you're very effective at spreading what is wrong. See, it's not enough to be right. You have to be effective. Well, you're wrong and you're effective. There's your problem. You're teaching kids they're related to a potato. Simple question, Neil. Do you believe you and a potato have a common ancestor? Just yes or no. I know what it is. You do. Okay. Do you believe the whole universe fit in a dot smaller than an atom? Yeah. And it exploded. Where'd the energy come from? Okay. And do you believe the earth cooled down and was a hot ball of rock? That's what your books teach. So then it rained on the rocks for millions of years and turned them into soup, and the soup somehow came alive. And you believe that. So you believe you came from a rock. You won't ever admit that. Mr. Nelson can't admit it. Nobody believes we came from a rock. I should have a fan blowing my hair back there when you say that. Okay. Nobody believes. Okay. Yeah, you're very effective at teaching a lie. You're very effective at it. And I feel bad for you when you stand before the judge.
The less connected you are to what is objectively true.
Okay, it is objectively true that animals have always been observed to produce the same kind of baby. It's always been true. That's objectively true. Are you willing to admit that? Why do you want to go off on your rabbit trail fairy tale and say, wow, cows are related to bananas? Yeah. You believe they are. I know you do. There's no science for that. It's a religious belief.
The less likely you will be able to make decisions that will benefit your life.
You're going to make some decisions that will benefit your eternity if you follow me. Say, man, Jesus made the world. God, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm going to make an objective decision to apologize to your listeners, saying, I had to change my mind, folks. All we've ever seen is cows produce cows. Kent's right. Maybe the Bible is true. Maybe the God created this universe for a reason, and maybe he knew that we slipped up and fell off into disobedience, and he provided a way out. Maybe the only way to please a perfect God is with death sentence, and so he took the death for you. Wow. And see, I believe those things by faith, and you believe by faith that you're related to a potato, but you won't admit it. You won't admit it's a faith, will you? We'll get quick comments tonight. Probably Crybaby's going to call in. Well, we know we're related to a potato because, there's 40 different ways to fix them and you can eat them. Yeah.
Your life, the life of your family, and even civilization.
Hit the nail on the head on that one. This decision, what you make on your life, on creation or evolution, going to affect your life, your family's life, and civilization. Talk to Adolf Hitler, who believed Darwin's book and said, man, we got to eliminate these inferiors. Talk to the Japanese before World War II. They were teaching their children that the Chinese are inferior. The Japanese killed 17 million Chinese civilians. Why? Because they're Chinese, they're inferior. Hitler only killed 6 million Jews. Japanese killed 17 million. Why? They believed in evolution. Study my video number 5, how this evolution theory permeated the world in the mid-1800s and caused people to go nuts in their thinking. That's what we're trying to stop, Neil. That's what you're trying to spread. The same stupid idea that led to World War II. Okay, go ahead. Let's see. That's the one, danger. They put me in jail over that one, okay?
So, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, and this is my master class.
Well, then you better come to my class first, Neil, and I'll teach you how. The truth. And you could use your same skills, your teaching skills, and your best amount of knowledge. The knowledge is different than wisdom. You have a vast amount of knowledge. You could use it for the glory of God if you wanted. But you might, lose your prestige in your atheistic community.